I'm Pazuki, and today we have Undusted Letters from the Past on Bite Sized. This game is a cleaning sim story. The cleaning mechanics of this game are super satisfying. The mechanics of moving around was a little tricky. There's lots of hints in the game, which is great. The story was interesting, following the character Adora. And Adora is going back to her family home. And we're learning about why this young woman is going back to her home. And as she cleans different items, she is going through her memories of her childhood, but specifically, she's exploring the feelings and thoughts she has regarding her parents. So while the game is this very beautiful, very sweet, cozy game with some very soft music and slow pace, it's also has this depth of a character working through things that were not easy in their past. And going through the story, I found myself wondering, what family trope is this story exploring? And it didn't fit into any of the tropes I assumed. I assumed early on that this was going to be a child of divorce kind of story, parents who argued a lot, and which I thought was kind of heavy for a cozy cleaning game. It felt rather odd. But it's a little more nuanced than that. Just like in the details of the objects, there's a cup with a crack. There's, pieces missing on this gorgeous, beautiful cup, but it's not quite complete. There's things missing in this character and in her relationships. This fundamentally is really a story about a daughter who doesn't understand her mother. And that's a much more complicated story to tell. And it's a much more hurtful story. How do you communicate misunderstanding in a game with very little dialogue? That's still not the center of the game, but it's still very much what is going on. It's very interesting because it's really a story about a marriage of two people who are very, very different, and then they have this child who is often caught in the middle. It's a harder story. It's a more complicated story. It's not as simple as, and they got divorced, and they fought all the time. It's more than that. These two people clearly love each other and they love their child. Something happens. Something breaks this family and makes this house abandoned and makes it necessary for this really deep cleaning to be needed. I love that in all of these objects that there's such dirt and decay and growth and all this on every object, but they're all very unique and all very beautiful and exact. As we clean, As we get more into the story, we find that this girl, Adora, has two parents with very different personalities. The father is very happy-go-lucky. Then she has a very pragmatic mother, and those two personalities of strict pragmatism, of being practical and analytical at all times, juxtaposed with a happy-go-lucky creative father is a challenge, and you can imagine the types of arguments that would occur in this family. It's very interesting that as you feel a climax happening in family dynamics, that tragedy strikes, and it feels incoherent with the flow of the story. Like, that doesn't make sense for the plot, but it's a place in this game that I love, where it leans more into a realism of sometimes bad things happen in life at really inopportune moments. We're not prepared for a loss. We're never ready to grieve or lose anybody, but that's often when people are taken from us. So the story of this cute, cozy cleaning game is less a story about family secrets or lost items, and more a story of people who are broken, people who messed up, who let their brokenness make it worse. A lot of the times what makes the relationships more difficult is that they're refusing to deal with the problems. So like this locket, it's so beautiful, but the face of the watch is broken, and it was her father's. And at one point it stopped ticking because he passed away. And at that point, the joyful person that was her father was removed from this family dynamic. And so now we have a very pragmatic mother and a very typical teenager. Both the daughter and the mother are grieving, but the mother grieves by throwing herself into her work, while the daughter just wants her mom. But she doesn't get it. She grieves alone, and her mom grieves alone, and it's real, and it's so sad. There's a feeling as the game goes on, as you continue to clean and remember and go through different parts of Adora's life, there's this feeling that she's gonna come out of it, but that doesn't happen. First of all, that is not how grief works. And even though, as we clean some of these electronics, they still work and they still function, and we get to see old tapes and music that was played on them and recordings and things. That doesn't remove the grief and the sadness and the loss. And that's a lot of what is being told in this story, is not just grief and loss, although that is there, but also lost opportunities. She has the loss of her father not being there to help her, but she's also slowly losing this relationship with her mother. It's so interesting that the story break comes down to a single day. It's not a big day. It's not a day where anything huge happened. It's not the day her dad died or the funeral or anything like that. Or years later, it's just it was a normal day where she tried to reach out and they tried to talk and it made things worse. Was it kind of the beginning of the end of this relationship? I remember at this point in the game when I was playing, this sense of dread came over me of just, I know this game is not very long, and I feel like we've passed the climax of the game. We are now in the end game, and now she's having this fight with her mom, and it's coming to like, that was the beginning of the end, and it's very final, and I started having this dread of, oh no, what's going to happen between this girl and her mom? Are they going to stop talking to each other? And then the story picks up with her cleaning out the house. There's only one thing that could have happened. So even though this is a beautiful, cozy game with very aesthetic vibes and everything, it's also building dread of a break, and it feels just so devastating. I think also for me, because I have a good relationship with my mother, I would find this turn of events absolutely devastating. I was like, what is going to happen? They have to fix it. But that's not what happens. Things aren't always fixable. Like the teacup isn't always fixed back to perfect, but that doesn't make it less real and less beautiful. The teacup was still beautiful. The watch is still beautiful, and still beautiful reminders of people in our lives who were connected with those objects. And I love that Adora then turns from this brokenness and this loss and the grief and starts asking, what did I miss? Who is this person that I walked away from? Who is she really? Who was my mother? Which is a really difficult question, but also a really necessary thing, especially in a retrospective type story like this one. Not just who were they to me, which is often the question we have about our parents, who was my parent to me, but also who were they as individuals. And I really love that this story asks that question, who was my mom as an individual, and what made her the way she was, just like what makes me the way I am and the choices that I make and have made. What happened to my mother that made her who she is? I do love that this game was not afraid of dealing with heavy topics and hard realities and guilt. Guilt is a very tricky feeling to deal with in any context. I thought it very, very creative and brave and a good, gentle way to deal with things like guilt, and a guilt that can't be fixed. And that's the story, is just of loss and grief, and it's sad, but it's also beautiful. I found this game really powerful is a one way to put it, I guess. It's powerful, but it's also sweet and gentle, and I think also like I don't have this personality that Adora has. If there's a problem, I want to fix it. That's part of my personality. And I don't think I could ignore someone for years. It would hurt me too much to ignore and to run away from pain. That's something that I find very difficult. So it was interesting to be put in someone else's perspective and someone else's choices, who has run away but also is suffering from the guilt of that. The gameplay is very satisfying. The cleaning aspects of it were very satisfying. There was kind of the puzzle element to it of trying to get all the little bits and pieces to get 100% clean and all that. I found that satisfyingly challenging enough. And then the story on top of that being a little bit different than I expected, and a little bit deeper, and dealing with a more difficult topic than I expected was actually very refreshing. And I enjoyed it very much, and I highly recommend it. So if you have picked up Undusted, let me know in the comments. If you haven't, will you pick it up now? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.